Right, just to give you a hand with this question 2 then. So question 2 is asking you to find the coefficient of the x to the power of 9 term in this expansion. Now, I'll show it in a slightly more laborious way with all the steps, and I'll show you how you can do it slightly quicker. But I'm going to show you the first way to begin with, just to help you understand a little bit better exactly what you're supposed to be doing here. So if we were using Pascal's triangle, then notice it's the power of 4. So the first row is the power of 0, power of 1, then it's the power of 2 row, power of 3, and then the power of 4. So we can stop when we get to this one here, because these are going to be our coefficients if we're raising it to the power of 4. So you can write these down, 1, 4, 6, 4, and 1. Then remember you've got to take the first term, the 1, and you've got to start off 1 to the power of 4, 1 cubed, and go descending. And then we're going to take this entire term, the 3x cubed. So it's 3x cubed, we're going to start off with that to the power of 0, and then it's going to be to the power of 1, and so on. So we get that, so let's tidy all that up. So the first one is going to be 1 times 1, and that's just going to be 1, so that's just 1, plus 4 times 1, which will be 4, and 3x cubed to the power of 1 is just 3x cubed, so that's times 3x cubed, so we can tidy it up as well, so it'll be 1 plus 12x cubed. Next one is going to be 6 times 1, that's just going to be 6 times, it'll be 3 squared is 9. Now if you remember your rules of indices, if you've got x cubed in the bracket squared outside, that's where you times the powers, so it'll be x to the power of 6. So that's going to give us 54x to the power of 6. Then we've got 4 times 1, it'll be 4. And then 3 cubed 27, x, and the 3 times the 3 is going to give you the 9. And then 1 times 1 is just 1. And it's 3 to the power of 4, which is 81. It's x cubed, and then you've got to the power of 4 there, so that's x to the 12. So that's going to give us, so we've got 427s, which is off the top of my head, 108, x to the 9, plus 81 x to the power of 12. Okay, so what we're being asked is, find the coefficient of the x to the power of 9 term. Well, that's your x to the power of 9 term there. So your coefficient is going to be 108. Right, so we've done the whole thing. We didn't really need to do all that though. We could have just stuck with just working out just this particular term here. Now, what we know is that it can be expanded using this binomial expansion rule here. Now, what we need to know is this term, this whole 3x cubed term, it's going to be raised to the power of 1, to the power of 2, to the power of 3, to the power of 4 throughout this expansion here. So you've got to think, which power, when you multiply, raise this thing to that power, it's going to give you a power of 9. Well, it's going to have to be the power of 3, and that's for this very reason here. 3x cubed to the power of 3. So what you can do is you can just bypass all the extra stuff and just focus on this little term here. Now, if we look at the rule, you're going to have nr, and then you have to have x to the power of n minus r, and then y to the power of r. Now, that's if you've got something where you've got x plus y to the power of n. Well, we don't have x and y here. We've got 1 and 3x cubed. So the equivalent of the y in this expansion that we're doing is actually this 3x cubed here. Now, if we want this to be to the power of 9, we know that there has to be a 3 outside of that, outside of the bracket when you're expanding it here. So what we can do then is we can say it's going to be 4. Well, we know it's got to be 4 there because we're expanding using a power of 4 here, so we know that's got to be a 4. And it's now the first term inside your bracket is a 1, so it has to be 1 to the power of, now that's going to be 4 take away something. Now what you're taking away is whatever this number here is going to be. So that number there and that number there have to be exactly the same. And then we're multiplying by the next term, which is your 3x cubed. And it's the power of something. And that has to end up with a power of 9 when you expand that. Okay, so you've got to think to yourself, right, so what numbers am I going to put here? It's going to end up with a power of 9 with this term here. Well, it's got to be a 3. So if that's a 3, that has to be a 3. And if that's a 3, that has to be a 3 as well. So they're all the same number there. So you can then tidy all that up. So we can work out what 4 and the 3 there comes to. So 1 to the power of anything is just 1. 3 cubed is 27. X cubed to the power of 3 is x to the 9. So that leaves us just to finish off finding the coefficient by working out what this is. So either use your calculator, or we can say 3 is going to be 4 factorial over 3 factorial, 4 minus 3 factorial. Well, this bit here is just 1, so that's not going to do much for us. 4 factorial is 4 times 3 factorial. 3 factorial cancels out, and we just get 4. So it's 4 times 1 times 27 x to the 9. So that all multiplies to give us 108 x to the power of 9.